Hi, I'm Marky Hora. Team bahay ka rin ba katulad ko? Pero gusto mong laging updated sa mga balitang napapanahon at interesting? From the comfort of your own home, maaari ka nang maging informed. Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali ninyong maa-access. Pwedeng via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing gamit ang hashtag RNG Luzon, Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Hit the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Hey guys! Grasya po ito. Lagi ka bang on the go at hanap mo ay balitang sigurado, totoo at walang tinatago? Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali niyong ma-access. Pwede via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing using the hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Huwag kakalimutang i-hit ang notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang mga social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
The Regional News Group Prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to meet today. May we engage with each other with faith and perseverance. May we manage each situation with wisdom and value. May we speak and serve with integrity and purpose. We have come, O Lord, Holy Spirit. We have come before you, hampered and dead by our many and grievous sins, but for a special purpose, gathered together in your name. Come to us and be with us, and enter our heart. Lord, we invite you to work within us today. Amen. The views and opinions expressed by the host do not necessarily state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guest do not reflect those of the hosts, the show, the management, and the network.
Naimbag nga aldaw yumanen kakabsat, and welcome to another episode of Talk Time. Tatangaal daw, dati talo nga guest tayo nga inayaban tayo nga makipasad dito'y programa tayo. Ti umuna, kat may isa nga kabsat tayo nga nagapupay ijay ili nga Betwagan Mountain Province, kat i-share naman kada tayo ti pulso na mat maipanggap iti otonomiya. Nakita tayo mat ni Apo Edna Tabanda during the closing ceremony of the Indigenous Peoples Month ijay probinsya iti Benguet ijay capital, ket in share namat in bingay na kada tayo no anya ti direction nan daytunay nga otonomiya. And lastly, iti focus iti discussion tayo tatak ket on the salient features of the autonomy, ket naayaban tayo apo ni Attorney Mauricio Dumogan nga mang-eksplika kanya tayo dagiti salient features ti autonomy. Join us for another hour of discussion on the salient features of autonomy. Autonomy is very important for the Cordillera Administrative Region so that the region will eventually become Cordillera Autonomous Region. It is the dream of our forefathers.
If ever you want to ask something about autonomy, this is the best platform for now that we could be in.
Why do we need autonomy for the Cordilleras? Because we need to determine for ourselves as indigenous peoples the kind of development, the kind of progress that we want for our region. Good day everyone! Here's another episode of Talk Time. Katatangarod nga aldaw, ada dito'y ni kabsat tayo nga Manong Jacinto Yasan nga nagapupay ijay Betwagan. Ket kitaan tayo manmat iti pulso dagiti kakailyan tayo nga da ijay Betwagan. No anya ti panakaawat da ken anya ti makunada ditunay autonomy tatatamanen ket maisulsulong daytoy nga rod nga autonomiya para iti Cordillera. Manong Jacinto, take it away.
Han ko una nga binasa di barong anya di bill ngam ti mawatak idi ngamin idi 1987 nga napnapan kami jay batasan nga mangi lablabi iti mainayunan ti provision on autonomous region. Tinaangay ito CRA ket federal autonomy kumati mabalin nga maikwad ichay mai implementar to ayan tayo nga Cordillera nga adati direct democracy, indigenous socialism kan collective leadership ti kasla pinaka feature na kumadi nga governance. Ti problema itatang kuahan ko unay nabasa ngem kasla adda lang di question ko on di ay panti konsepto ti daga no kumamabalin ijay the way we ti konsepto ti daga ket mabalin ko mga di ti medyo i-refine tayo ta isumot ti rumuswan ti political ekonomiya justice, peace, ito'y ayan tayo nga indigenous ko dito'y Cordillera. So nga no pintas ko ijay tayo nga may yangkor. Amin ti programs ti gobyerno tayo when it comes to the implementation ti programs, projects, and activities. Ijay kasta tayo nga mangkwat ti daga. Yan lang tinakita nga provisions nga apay nga kasla ma-define nga public land pa lang dito yung dagdaga tayo ito yung Cordillera. That alienable, indisposable nga ipagbaga tayo during the workshop ito yung Mansion House idi 1987 nga di ako madaga ancestral domain mi aplikar dito ayan tayo haan nga public land. Di lang di kasla may komentar ko iti provisions ano ko talaga nga nabasa di ay intuto dagiti the provisions iti barbaro nga naikwa ta kasla di problema nga mi idi ti tao nga may sasayang kat ti autonomous ti problema siguro no muunos tayo amin nga datayong ahensya ti gobyerno kung tao kan ikas tayo nga may advocate ito yung sulsuli mabalin siguro kan may sa kumang may sa nga educational arguments kuma ito yung academic dahil ito yung autonomy tapno lang haan lang rumumwar during campaign.
When?
Dapat kung it's become a parts of the curriculum nga may kukwamot dita may integrate iti academic, the college, the basic education tapno aware tayo kasi kumati sa balimot ngamin ti pinangbuya tayo iti it is not just a matter of voting akin kayat the indigenous way of winning the hearts of the people by consensus decision pero ikuha na lang kumaijay kasapulan pagtutungtungan no apay nga hante kong kayat ken apay nga kayat tayo no adaman sig mamanong handa nga kayat explain tayo ingganang tumaawatan da kasi mo ti position ti indigenous and it's a matter of people's majority vote kasi ti konpiman ti konsepto na idi people's rule kuma ti governance tayo.
Hi, I'm Marky Hora. Team bahay ka rin ba katulad ko? Pero gusto mong laging updated sa mga balitang napapanahon at interesting? From the comfort of your own home, maaari ka nang maging informed. Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali ninyong maa-access. Pwedeng via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing gamit ang hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Hit the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Hey guys! Grasya po ito. Lagi ka bang on the go at hanap mo ay balitang sigurado, totoo at walang tinatago? Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali niyong ma-access. Pwede via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing using the hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Huwag kakalimutang i-hit ang notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang mga social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Good morning manen kakabsat. Welcome to another episode of Talk Time. Katatanga agsapa maragsakan tayo that we were able to stumble with one of the long-time fighter for the creation of autonomy in the Cordilleras, and that's no other than the former mayor, the former vice governor of La Trinidad of Benguet, ni Ma'am Edna Tabanda. Katatan, amun tayo man, noon niya ti kapanutan na, taas member iti RDC, itata, kat isuda matlatta day tunay, nga ahensya ti mangisulsulong ti otonomiya. Kaya tayo wadenggen, mismo kanya na, noon niya ti panangrikna na nga this time nga ta, kat maisulungan day tunay, gan-gan na eten tayo nga otonomiya, ta amu tayo mat nga for the past two organic acts kat we turned it down. Kat anya nga ti pulso tata iti Cordillera no maisulong tayon ba dahito eventually ta adda ti talo nga bills nga naisalang ijanay Kongreso. Si Ma'am, please.
Good morning, Marican. Dagito the viewers tayo or listeners tayo. Nagad na yung mga aldaw tatakat we are celebrating culmination activity tatay hosted by the province of Benguet. Iti manong years, 34 years, the existed the IPRA.
23 years na.
23 years like the IPRA, the Indigenous People's Rights Act nga. Dito kat imuna nga na-approval nga 23 years ago. And we are very happy because that's the meat actually iperpursue tayo nga regional autonomy. Adaptive regional government tayo ito no? Kaya isang nga diya we are pursuing let's pursue manan dito dream tayo nga the region Florida region kat ang autonomiya kan importante kat they have to comply with the provision of the Constitution. Ada yan 1987 Constitution iso nga adamatan jay army niya, adamatan di regional government jay. So that time matan agat we have to pursue dito nga dream tayo ta adamat dumati advantages na adati challenges but no ikat tayo dagito yung nakasila nga po natay ang problema no or challenges ta adungarte nya dagi autonomiya mabject tayo nga ta about the income kung kunada ijay kan ito yung multicultural tayo dito yan ito yung Cordillera region isang ado dagito yung the concerns butla nga i-address dito yung na-propose nga bills tayo okay
right
na-reject niya doon actually that I was parang the first na organic because we support kami pa lang since the beginning. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I forgot the number.
1990.
One. And then, siya man ang second, nga na
Turn down.
Na itatan adate 5687. Nga in-endorse, in-approvean, but dagito the congressman tayo, nga in-file damad. No?
Yes.
Kat adamat man nanday ito, ni Congressman Iyap, nga we are very happy mat nga adamat dia in file na nga niya number na
7778.
7778 no nagitada hopefully nga itatan akat maipasahuma di ay. Tati daw-dawatan tayo through ni tayo congressman tayo, especially ni Congressman Yap niya. Tapno ni Presidente ko certify na nga urgent dahito nga bill tapno nga rod hantay nga agupol oray pala niya. But we understand also because they've been concentrating on the budget.
That's right.
Dahito coronavirus niya nga problema, dahito nga pandemic. So ado pa lang dahito hantay lang una pa nga agmumove nga ikan continue tayo kumati IEC. But na-start mo dahito yan through the multimedia, no? But kurang pa lang dijay. What we have to do kasi bagbagang nga titap tao tayo or the leaders tayo mo lang ito the Cordillera is go to the grassroots.
That's right.
So a consultation tumot lang dagito the congressman tayo niya na naifalta di ay bill tapno nga road kitaan tayo mat na okay ba yon nya the provisions na dagito nga impropose tayo nga organic act.
Yes, ma'am. I will cut you there because you mentioned about the provisions. Actually, ma'am, ado dagiti nakatungtong tayo, kaday taki may nga fear da, taday ito'y ba organic, dagiti bills ba nga isa-submit da nga, it contain really the voice of the indigenous peoples of the Cordilleras in terms of governance, nga na-mention nyo tatay, yung mga economic rights natin, socio-cultural rights natin as mandated or provided in the IPRA.
Kasi, diyan si ati adang ngaron diyan mo lang organic na-recognize namin rights to the ancestral domain, the socio-economic, amin.
Okay.
Encompassing amin that we are a marginalized group ngayon, no?
Yes, ma'am.
We look into our culture.
That's right.
Cultural integrity, pagbaga related.
Yes, ma'am.
So, may saakmot nga membro di ay task force nga originally nga nag-draft.
Nagbuangay.
Oh.
Are you referring to the CRCC version?
No, not that one. That is RDC.
Okay, yes,
Because
ma'am.
we again started to draft nga ro, to craft.
I see.
Tayo sa basis
Na-isubmit, naging congressman tayo. I see.
Adamot yung amendments nga inaramid da.
Okay.
So, in
Naisurot amin,
naisurot
nagkaya tayo. Okay.
Because nakonsulta mo
Okay.
So, we compared the previous.
Okay.
Ay nadihan nga mayat.
Okay.
Ang taidigat si PLA with the peacekeeping force.
Yes, one.
So, ano nagayay na
Nasukata.
Oo, we have to remove all of those because nagito'y dati rason nga apay nga na-reject.
Okay.
Ado, the results hindi.
Yes, ma'am. Dapat may nga comment nga kung kunada ma'am nga daytoy nga ron, dagito in-submit dagito na congressman tayo di Cordillera, kas lang another version lang isuna iti local government code. Anya ti mukunayo dit na.
Nice organic the local government code because national na ito
Yes, ma'am.
Sa ako na niya local government. So we will still respect the law, the local government code. And other laws nga dapat nga ma-incorporate yung mabigbig because it's very beneficial to the people of the Cordillera.
So it's not necessarily overlapping na.
No. It could it would enhance pa the local code tayo. So adum lang iti kwati na ganan dapat mo ma-amend pa yung local government code, especially the basis for the era, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Nation, nakita na, amame. So, tagiyay diti na is-scrutinize mo. We cannot come up with a perfect.
That's
Kasi
right.
nga that's why di man nanti consultation tumanan kanjay. Tapno manan titantay no inyamot man nanti kung kunati tao. Tap as per survey iti neda niya kat lang nga imat adumot nanti kasang naka-realize nga idi indrugi tayo idi ag IC IEC tayo.
Yes,
no?
ma'am.
Before the coronavirus.
Yes, exactly.
No?
Yes.
So dagitoy dati nakita mo kan for our experiences nga we're in government hindi ka amutay mo dagitoy da marginalized tayo, dati discrimination, the recognition of the rights of the indigenous people, the women and the children. And we're talking about cultural integrity tayo because naibagada ito tayo pa yung our dances, the authenticity.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So, economic, dagitada, ikat adamat ay kinukompute na. Iya nga mabalin nga, iya mati
Proposal.
subsidize,
Yes.
subsidize the national government niya.
Yes,
Pero
ma'am.
nga ro, they will still be there helping us while we will be na ganan, to the lang, temporary body,
Yes, ma'am.
transition period, dagitada.
Correct.
So, we look
Aside
into
from
all
the already
Yes.
existing budget that they are giving, yung
Yes,
allocation,
oo.
there will be add-on.
Yes.
No talagang genuine daytoy gobyerno tayo nga kayat na nga padurasan ti kasasaad iti Cordillera.
Exactly, but we cannot be always depending on the national government. Man, maybe adali subsidy, but we have to learn because we're fighting for autonomy, meaning to say we would like to
Become
be may
self-sufficient.
the degree of independence tayo as to our taxes.
That's
O,
right.
kita nyo, the national wealth tax. Manulang talaan tayo,
Yes.
40%. And then ipantayo amin dyan.
And how much wealth do we bring to the national coffer? And then in return, how much percentage do they give us? One. Diba? And considering, ma'am, kung natin yung nga Cordillera is a resource base. Nagad-ado ti natural resources tayo dito nga ti makinabang. Mostly the biggest percentage would benefit the national, not really the very people of the Cordillera.
So nga dito niya, it's unifying all the provinces kuman. Despite our differences in culture or in iti sources iti kuatayo, iti income niya of the regional government because dito kayo tayo at iti regional government tayo dito eh. So, DJ, but we have to take the responsibility also not to be at the mind, we have to change the mindset also of our people. The sense of dependency. Amo yan, it's natural. No, the donations and everything. To the extent nga na mabibig din kalangan ng awanan ngayon, diyayan nga mang ito. So, di kung natin empowerment.
Yes,
So,
self-sufficient.
if we would like to know,
Yes.
if we would like to be really na degree of independence tayo, autonomy tayo, well, let's be responsible also and be ready.
Right.
And then, akitinulungod lang idagiti the different local government units. No? Because they can also, local governments can also tax and exercise of taxing power. So you see, adan to the mechanisms, adan to the systems na maaramid, iti sistema ti regional government tayo ito, ada yung ekonomiya. Another thing being a mayor, a local government official, we experienced that adu tilintag niya nga decentralization nga inya kunada kurang yung local government po. Dapat you have to get a permit the water permit. Ahang ka pa lang dyan Manila, or you would like to get more funds from our congressman or the agents of government. You have to go down to Manila kat manulang manan iti balon niya, iti mayors limited. They have to stay there. In Manila just to wait. Adati autonomy tayo. At least adadagiti the regionalan pa yan, aside from ganat, dapat lang line agencies nga ma-retain. So, di really the local government units niya in getting funds, resources, At kat di may isang, kanya ma-approvean din national, hanpay nga amuti, the local government unit. You see? The government unit, So, they go directly to get their kalati dito DNR permits nga iti naganan the use of our force di apay nga adati subdivision jay apay nga adati so ma-surprise kami but kasi day political mananday tan ma-politiko it's so hard for local government units talaga in its administrative function so dito may sa important why I am for autonomy mate.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, to end, alukuyan tayo, dagiti kakailyan tayo, garod, na suportaran dati, autonomiya.
No agrugin to tikwan, iti talaga full blast nga ag information dissemination tayo, ag orient tayo, because di ito face to face, we go to the local government units or the groups nga kakadyak, nga we let them understand. Hanaya, just like starting a business, so agrigat kamot up the beginning.
That's right.
But if we understand inya the rights tayo, and then we will accept the meaning really of autonomy, hantay mga separate
Yes, ma'am.
national government, no? But to have this regional government,
Yes,
that
mas
we govern
devolution of
ourselves,
power, yes.
considering all our kultura tayo, our own resources, kasi di matkat iti ka na nga broad concept na iti autonomy ko na so di ko man dahito IPRA na i-implement ko man iti because I made a study on the ko ngayon dahito NCIP gusto daw mo i-implement niya. But as mentioned by ni Commissioner Kayat, amok data nakita ko, I want the personnel because they don't have money.
Yes, ma'am.
Kut adoti functions nga aramid. And hopefully nga dayto, while waiting for the ma-improvement ko ba dayto, and hopefully ang makaala dati takdak nga puno.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Wanda kita, tinabagas, nakapanunutan, ni Apo tayo dito'y nga Edna Tabanda. Thank you so much, ma'am. Till our next episode of Talk Time.
Hi, I'm Marky Hora. Team bahay ka rin ba katulad ko? Pero gusto mong laging updated sa mga balitang napapanahon at interesting? From the comfort of your own home, maaari ka nang maging informed. Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali ninyong maa-access. Pwedeng via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing gamit ang hashtag RNG Luzon, Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Hit the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Hey guys! Grasya po ito. Lagi ka bang on the go at hanap mo ay balitang sigurado, totoo at walang tinatago? Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali niyong ma-access. Pwede via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing using the hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Huwag kakalimutang i-hit ang notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang mga social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
have been clamoring for autonomy of the Cordilleras pursuant to provision Section 15, Article 10 of the 1987 Constitution. Our forefathers, a lot of them had already been gone on the other side of life, had been fighting for autonomy of the Cordilleras. It will be too long if we are going to enumerate some of them. Anyway, what we want to achieve in this clamor for autonomy is based on 5 basic, you can call it as principles or policy. Number 1, we want autonomy to give more power and authority for us people of the Cordilleras to manage our own self, our own natural resources, preserve our culture and tradition worth preserving, which is or which are still good for us and for our generations to come. 1. Second, there shall be no diminution of existing benefits, which simply means that if we will become autonomous in status, whatever we are receiving right before autonomy will continue to be given to us. In order that we will assure, maisigurado tayo nga the sustainability and financial capability of the autonomous region to manage itself kat saan nga problema. Number 3, existing government offices, I'm referring to the regional line agencies, will not be abolished, but partially devolved to the autonomous region. They will continue to be paid by the national government. Tapno hanga problema iti autonomous region to produce the income to pay them, but they will be under the direct supervision and authority of the autonomous region in the implementation of programs and developments which are focused on the priority of the region, as distinguished with the present situation, because the line agencies are implementing the priority of the national government. As an example, the priority of the national government is in agriculture is rice and corn. In the Cordilleras, possibly only Tabuk can be considered as the area in the region that has rice as in corn as priority. A lot of the other areas, like the province of Benguet, it's big stubbles. That's the priority of the province of Benguet, part of Mountain Province, and even part of Ifugao. So, 1. Then 4, in order to challenge the national government to fulfill the very reason why it is included in Section 15 of Article 10 of the 1987 Constitution, the provision that gives the opportunity for the Cordilleras and Mindanao only. Take note, there are only 2 places to be extended autonomous status in order to somewhat give more authority in funding to this region for them to accelerate their socio-economic and infrastructure development to catch up with the other regions of the country. In short, this is an admission of the national government that the development of the Cordilleras in Muslim Mindanao had been neglected for a long period of time, and the best way to somewhat accelerate the development is to extend to them autonomous status. With this as the background and basis, we should ask the national government to give subsidy to us in order that we can really fund the needed development of our own region. And then, of course, number 5, to ensure the sustainability financially as well as administratively the existence of the autonomous region. All right. With that as the basic principle, we now go to the draft or the different provisions of what the autonomy bill. Of course, the preamble. Next to that, this is again, this is one of the controversial issues before. The definition of a Cordilleran. Who will be considered as Cordilleran? Because this is very important. Take note, in some of the provisions, there are certain developments in our region that give a Cordilleran the priority in said development. And we simply define a Cordilleran as a Filipino citizen who was or is domiciled in the Cordilleras. In this way, it will cover all of us, even those Tagalog, Pangasinan, Ilocanos, who migrated and who are now permanent residents of the Cordilleras are considered as Cordillerans. Awanan ti igurat, awanan ti kukulityagam ka, manggalatot ka, pari-pareho tayo amin. Which is, to me, in line also with what the Holy Bible says, na parsuan na tayo amin ti may sanga Diyos. Take note, this had been debated lengthily and voted in the regional assembly, and this is the definition that had been voted upon. Alright, now we go now to principle number 1, to give us more power and authority to manage our own resources, preserve our culture and customs, traditions worth preserving. So, we want, therefore, an autonomous region that will have a legal personality. Take note that administrative regions does not have legal personality. They do not have the authority to contract, to secure loan, because they don't have the legal personality. If we will become autonomous in status, then the region will have a legal personality like a municipal corporation. Okay. That will give the powers to the state autonomous region, right? Management of natural resources. We want a lot of the powers right now being exercised by the national government to be devolved to the autonomous region. As an example, mini hydros as well as big hydros. Permits in exploration or mining. Permits in the issuance of water rights. I repeat, all of these are being issued right now by the national government. It's but fitting that this must be devolved to the region. We no more our backyard than the national government. Devolved to them. Then of course, even the titling of ancestral lands pursuant to Republic Act 8370. Take note that the survey conducted by the University of the Philippines, as far as the implementation of IPRA is concerned, is a failure. I think, is my opinion, the reason for this is the powers in the implementation of IPRA are centralized. It must be devolved. Because again, the region, no more its backyard than the national government. They know who are the legitimate ancestral land claimants and the legitimate ancestral property in certain areas. They are the ones who know about this one. So, these are the examples of powers to be devolved to the autonomous region. In addition to the powers which right now we are exercising pursuant to Republic Act 7160, known as the Local Government Code. Right. Preservation of our culture, customs and traditions. Well, we have a lot of customs and traditions worth preserving. One that we want especially to be included is settlement of dispute, criminal or civil. Generally, under the principle of criminal law, criminal cases are not subject to settlement. But in our own customs and traditions, even murder cases are subject to settlement. The rationale behind is, if you are able to settle these cases among the involved parties, it will minimize, if not eliminate, the possibility of revenge. And this is, to me, very important. That will contribute peace and order in the community. So, must be included as part of the powers to be exercised by the autonomous region, that settlement of cases, civil or criminal, shall, in accordance with our recognized customs and traditions, shall be recognized as valid by government. Okay. All right. Now, next, no diminution of existing benefits. I have the details here, but it will be too long. No. So I will just give you a random, no diminution of existing benefits. At this time, what are we receiving as our benefit from the national government? Now, in terms of revenue, the most important, of course, is the internal revenue allotment. Just for us to have a clear picture about this, I am using, because I am no longer in government, I am using the data for 2017. What is the total internal revenue allotment of our region to the provinces, the 6 provinces in the one highly urbanized city? 14.9 billion pesos. If we will become autonomous, these provinces and cities will continue to receive this internal revenue allotment. The amount will vary depending on the income of government, of course. One of the examples that it will not be diminished. Now, we go to the line agencies, which I repeat, they will not be abolished, but partially devolved to the autonomous region. You know how much is the budget of the line agencies in 2017? which is the lowest entire the country, and 28 billion pesos. Which simply means that even if we will become autonomous in the status, the national government shall continue.
Oops! Halakata! Nag-brown out! Sorry, viewers! Medyo mag-blablakan tayo for a while to prepare our technical department.
to provide
Go ahead, Ano.
provide this budget to the different line agencies. An example, right? So those are the examples of existing benefits, right? Number 3, of course, the national line agencies in us, their officials and employees will continue to work for the region, but they will remain nationally paid. That's why, as I said, they will be partially devolved to the region para supervision and authority to manage is concerned, but the budget for their salaries and benefits will continue to be given by the national government, so that it will not be a problem for the autonomous region to produce the income to pay the salaries of teachers, police, and so on and so forth. Let us not forget that in the two ratifications of the autonomy law, the first one is Republic Act 6766, and the second one is I think 8438. One of the reasons that the oppositors utilize to campaign against autonomy was, utusan nyo ti autonomy, pangalan nyo ti income, pangsweldo yung kadagay police, kadagay teachers, agbuisto ti aso yun, ti manok yun, kunwang yun, baboy yun, kaya klubigay. We answered that with this provision. Then of course, we answered also the question of double taxation. Why, as I said at the outset, the autonomous government has the legal personality and authority to issue first ordinances and so on and so forth. But here in the autonomous bill, if this will be approved, that the autonomous government cannot pass a regional tax ordinance that will tax those items that are already been taxed by the national government or by the local government, to prevent the possibility that there will be double taxation that will make it burdensome for the people of the Cordilleras. While we said that the line agencies will not be abolished but partially devolved to the autonomous region, the functions of the line agencies vis-a-vis the autonomous region are clearly defined, so that there will be no conflict in the performance of duties and responsibilities, even implementation of traffic. That's one. Right. So, there we are. Now, we now go to number 4. What are the additional benefits that will be given to us if we will become autonomous? If we will become autonomous, right? So enumerate some will be 1. And this is the advantage of the fact that Muslim Mindanao had already obtain autonomy. If you look at the old draft, Article 9, there are 10 provisions there covering taxes being collected by the national government that we said the autonomous region will have a share. It was our suggestion that we amend that one and instead we adapt what the national government has given to autonomous Mindanao. The 5% of the total collection of the national internal revenue in the previous year as block grant, they call it block grant. This is for autonomous Mindanao. We can adapt that so that instead of enumerating the different taxes that we will have a share, we will just say 3% of the collection of the national internal revenue the previous year shall be a block grant for the year. Okay. Next will be all the collections of collecting agencies, the NGI, the LTO, in the fees that we are collecting, the autonomous government will retain 80% of that. 80% of that. Only 20% will be remitted to the national government. The distribution of the 80% will be 50% will be retained by the collecting agency for its administrative programs and improvement, and the rest will be given to the autonomous region. Just as an example, that is one. Right. And then, of course, next to that is the subsidy that we said to really accelerate the development of the region for us to catch up with other regions. So, in the old draft, we suggested, because I have not seen the new draft yet, that the national government should give 10 billion per year for the first 5 years and 5 billion per year for the next 5 years. Or in a period of 10 years, the national government shall give the autonomous government a total of 75 billion pesos. Distributed as follows. Right. I hope my memory will not fail me. The distribution will be 20% of the total amount will be the share of the autonomous government. 6% of the total amount will be set aside as reserve standing fund. Right. So what remains? 74%. Correct? The 74% will be distributed as follows. Alright? 2% of the 74% will be given to the component city, and we have only one component city, which is the city of Tabo. This is the reason why we have the 6% of the total amount as reserve, so that when existing municipalities, particularly the provincial capitals, will soon become component city, we will have a source of the fund to be given to them. Right? 23% of the 74% will be divided equally by the 6 provinces in the highly urbanized city of Baguio. In short, divided by 7 equally. That will be their share. Right? 35% of the 74% will be divided equally by the municipalities entire the region. And the remaining 40% of the 74% will be divided equally by the barangays entire the region. Right. So, no di tayo luklukon, santang nun 4% anti-implementation na dito, no matungpal, I do not see any reason why we cannot accelerate the infrastructure and economic development of the region. Right? Next to that, we propose 2.5 billion budget also for the construction of the regional center that will house the autonomous government offices. The structure of the autonomous region. The autonomous region will be headed by a regional governor, vice governor, and 15 members of the regional legislative assembly. Well, these are proposals. It can be improved. It can be improved. So there you are. The regional governor will be elected at large by the entire region. The same with the vice regional governor. The members of the regional legislative assembly, 1 for the component city and 2 each for the provinces and the highly urbanized city. They will be elected by the respective local government units, like the city of Baguio. It will only be the city of Baguio that will elect 2 of its representatives to the regional legislative assembly. So there we are. Now, of course, the different offices under the autonomous government, it follows the provisions of the local government code. You have the administrator, the accounting department, the regional engineering office, you have the budget office, the personnel office, you have the regional legal office, and so on. So, these are the composition of the autonomous region. So, if you look at it, it will be a lot improvement of our present existing situation. Let us not forget what we have been repeating. Even this draft that I am referring to, which have been the subject of a lot of consultations, contributions of a lot of sectors, private and government. This is not perfect. No one has the monopoly of knowledge. And to those who are seeing that they support autonomy for the Cordilleras, but they do not agree with these provisions of the draft, we ask them to please read the provisions and submit to our legislators suggestions that will, which are doable, which are doable, that can improve the draft. Unfortunate to hear some comments now. Where are the champions of autonomy being said by a congressman? Well, of course, they are the congressmen who are there. They like them, they should vacate their offices so that others can go there and pursue autonomy, if that is the attitude that we are having. It has worked together. Now, I want to also add, look, when this is being done before, if you will know, 2 autonomy laws have been denied ratification by the people of the Cordilleras because of lack of sufficient knowledge. The fear exists on them, but this has changed a lot. The surveys being done by the NIDA, Regional Office, will tell us that this has changed. I can remember when we have been campaigning for the second autonomy law, we were in one department, and you know, 70% of them were against autonomy. So I told them, look, you ask yourself why you are here in the Cordilleras. Because of EO 220. There are three purposes of EO 220. One, of course, to give the people of the Cordilleras opportunity to govern themselves. Two, we said, to accelerate the socio-economic development of the different units in the Cordilleras to catch up with the other regions. Three, to prepare the region into an autonomous status. Therefore, you are created with this function. Now, if you are against it, then you are committing insubordination. You better get out from the Cordilleras. Yeah, you can be charged for insubordination. That's part and parcel of your principal function. They're created by EO 220. Signed by President Corazon Aquino at the time when she was exercising both legislative and executive power under revolutionary government. Nakikita sa nanto na kitaan na, ay wong gayang na yan. I repeat, this has changed. The data from the survey shows that we have achieved a lot. And even in the city of Baguio, a lot have already the knowledge of what autonomy that we are talking about. We need to pursue and continue the educational information campaign so that even those that have not yet understand what we are talking about, autonomy, they will, I hope, understand. That's it.
Okay.
So, this is the hope of our region, especially for our children and children's children, the future generation. For us, older ones, we will soon leave. We will soon leave. But for the future, this is the hope of the region. That's why, let us stand. All for one for all, autonomy for the Cordilleras. Okay?
So,
Hi, I'm Marky Hora. Team bahay ka rin ba katulad ko? Pero gusto mong laging updated sa mga balitang napapanahon at interesting? From the comfort of your own home, maaari ka nang maging informed. Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali ninyong maa-access. Pwedeng via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing gamit ang hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Hit the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Hey guys! Grasya po ito. Lagi ka bang on the go at hanap mo ay balitang sigurado, totoo at walang tinatago? Sa Regional News Group o RNG Luzon, mabilis at accurate na balita, madali niyong ma-access. Pwede via Twitter. I-tweet lang ang inyong sumbong at hinaing using the hashtag RNG Luzon. Instagram, Facebook, at YouTube. Huwag kakalimutang i-hit ang notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aming mga bagong videos. Like, follow, and subscribe ang mga social media accounts ng RNG Luzon.
Thank you once again for joining us today. Join us again next week for another episode of Talk Time. Our topic will focus on the management of land and resources under autonomy. Good day, everyone.